Thank you everyone for if you're joining us live for the bankruptcy discussion part 2. Greatly appreciate you being here. Sorry for the minor delay, but we're going to go ahead and get started now. If you weren't with us in December when we had the first discussion, we're going to give you a brief recap so you can be kind of up to date on what was discussed and be prepared for the discussion today. Basically, in December, I noticed there was an increase in bankruptcy filings for personal and business, a lot more on the business side, and that people in my industry weren't actually talking about this. And so I thought it was imperative that, I set up something where we could discuss that, what was going on, so people know and have the information. And some of the things that we discussed in December were the process of bankruptcy filings, how to prevent going into bankruptcy, the different types of bankruptcy filings that one can have, both business and personal, and along with, how possibly the increase could impact the real estate market as a whole. Some of the reasons I believe there was an increase in bankruptcy filings was due to the fact that forbearances were no longer in place. People had to start paying their student loans again. We had inflation. Some people lost their jobs. And of course, the money that the government was giving out for free, has lessened greatly. So today we're going to dive a little deeper into what was discussed in December so we can better understand what's happened this year thus far and what to expect going forward so that we know if we can expect a major impact on the real estate market. And so again, I have Shaunay Steel here. She's a bankruptcy attorney of over 10 years. She's had leadership positions, several leadership positions as a bankruptcy attorney, and she currently owns her own practice in Michigan and Ohio. So thank you again, Shaunay, for being here. Greatly appreciated.
Hello, everyone. Shaunay Steel. I'm glad to be here once again, so we can discuss this fantastic matter in the world of bankruptcy. As I stated before, I've been practicing over 10 years. A lot of things we discussed in December kind of hit on some things, the differences between bankruptcies pre-pandemic versus now. And we're excited to talk about this and discuss this today. So I'm ready to get started when you are.
Okay, thank you. And so I understand that the first quarter is a time when most of your clients reach out to you to file for bankruptcy. Now, was that because they're getting their tax refund and now they're ready to put some money down to pay for your services?
Yes, tax refunds are one of the things. I think other things that if you work for Chrysler, Ford, or GM, you might receive a profit loss share during the month of February. There's other factors as well. So anytime there's some extra cash in the economy, then, there's a consideration of whether I should file for bankruptcy.
Okay, makes sense. And I mean, it kind of goes in hand with real estate too. A lot of times people are ready to buy their next home when they get their refund. And as you said, with people working with Chrysler and Ford get their profit sharing. So what percentage increase would you say you're seeing filings that you did by the end of last year compared to this year?
Well, I would say that bankruptcy filings were a little bit up last year around this time. Right now, this year, currently, I would say I haven't seen much of an increase, but we're expecting probably a bigger increase next month. Normally, once the economy has more money, you tend to see more bankruptcy filings. This year might be a little different. We might actually get a surge probably like in the summertime or something like that. But I am expecting more bankruptcy filings, and we are doing a preliminary numbers right now as we speak.
Okay. And so are the type of clients you're getting the same as last year, in which you explained they're more financially savvy than previous, or is it different?
Absolutely. I just got a call from a potential client not too long ago. Yeah, they're asking questions. They want to know about their credit. They want to know how it affects their credit. They want to know when they're able to rebuild their credit, what's the process. A lot of times they're coming to the table and saying, hey, ultimately I need to file a bankruptcy. Maybe I'm being garnished. Maybe I have a potential lawsuit and they haven't sued me, right? But I want to be proactive about the matter and get it taken care of right away. That way I'm not running to a bankruptcy attorney once the creditor has filed a lawsuit against me. So absolutely.
Okay. And since you've indicated more, you're seeing more savvy client, are you getting more clients that once maybe probably before they had their debt issues, of course, were they once financially stable or set up to have financial freedom, or is it more clients that have always been living kind of paycheck to paycheck?
I think you get a variety of those clients. I think you're getting more clients that were financially stable, correct? Right. So maybe a medical issue caused them to have to go to the doctor, and now their insurance maybe didn't cover it. So now they're facing an illness and they have all these doctor bills and they don't know what to do. Right. So then you have the client credit card company who's robbing Peter to pay Paul. They're paying off the minimum. They're using one credit card to pay off another credit card balance and so forth. You'll also have the client that is actually living paycheck to paycheck. And one little thing, let's say a lost income or someone in the household loses a job and it causes them to thrust into bankruptcy.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. The hospital bills is one I didn't think about. I've had a lot of folks myself. Okay, and so are a lot of these people that are a lot of these people that for your clients or just overall, are the people that currently own homes? And if they are a lot of them people that had the forbearances that ended as well?
Yes, that is true. Some of my clients own homes. A lot of them had forbearances pretty much that are pretty much up or ended so far, unless you know something different as far as with the forbearance. But a lot of the finance companies actually extended some of the forbearances to give the opportunity for the potential debtor to stay in the home. So now what we're seeing is we're seeing an end to that for the most part, based on my experiences. But I also have renters, right? These renters, loss of job, we need to file for a, bankruptcy because we're potentially being evicted. And we want to stop that as soon as possible. We want to stop that before we get any kind of eviction judgment in place to figure out what we can do. So absolutely. I think you get both of them across the board.
Okay. And so what are some of the biggest reasons clients are filing bankruptcy in terms of being more specific besides, just some things that we already discussed? Like, why have they accumulated so much to where they decided to file? Was there a job loss? Are you seeing more of one situation than the other? What are like the main reasons?
A lot of reasons my clients come to me, they may have a judgment, a default judgment that may have been entered years ago. Maybe they were served at an address they currently no longer live at. And so now they have this writ of garnishment that basically says they want to take their state taxes or they want to garnish their wages for their employment, and they just can't afford it. So that's one of the biggest things. You'll see people who, at this point in the game, they'll let you know, they'll say, hey, I just got served with some paperwork that says my check's going to be garnished. A lot of times they can garnish up to 25%. And we need this income. This is income we need. We're already struggling. And we need you to see what you can do to stop this garnishment. Of course, anything that has been garnished over $600 can be considered a preference payment and actually requested. You can possibly request a return in a Chapter 7 filing. But a lot of times, as I stated before, and I think we discussed this, when you get to me, by the time you get to a bankruptcy attorney, you have exhausted all avenues. Maybe you've tried to take out some loans and consolidate some debt, and it's just not working for you. The bills are steady coming in and you don't know what to do. They're stressed. Creditors are calling them and they just want out. They just want some form of relief.
Okay. And when you say anything over $600 is a more of a preference payment, you're saying like they prefer you pay that amount, $600 a month, or
when you file a bankruptcy, not to cut you off, when
yeah.
you file a bankruptcy, if you pay like one creditor over $600, that can be considered a preference payment. And each bankruptcy case is different, right? So anytime you have a bankruptcy, you can't technically pay within the 90-day threshold. You can't pay one creditor over $600 without paying the rest of the creditors over $600. So that technically, and there are other circumstances, can be considered a preference payment. And once you file, those are some options that we go over to see if that money can be returned to you.
Oh, okay. So basically you're saying it's not preference in terms of we would prefer you pay this. It's like, well, if I'm paying you over $600, then I'm making you a preferred debtor that I'm paying off versus the other ones.
Preferred creditor. Absolutely. You got it.
Okay. Yeah. Definitely understand that at first. Okay.
So
So
you're going to be a bankruptcy. I said in a minute you're gonna have all the ABCs of the bankruptcy yourself. So
Yeah, well, I'm definitely someone who likes to have as much knowledge as possible. I feel like if I have the more knowledge I have, the better decisions I can make and the better decisions I can help my clients make. So I love to learn. So that's just a part of me. So what percentage of increase, I know you're saying that if you compare February to February of last year, but I guess overall, are you seeing a percentage of increase in business bankruptcy filings versus personal bankruptcy filings for the year so far, or how is it overall?
to be honest with you, as far as bankruptcy filings, we know there is a little bit of a surge in some bankruptcy filings, probably a little bit more than bankruptcy filings right now, based on my personal bankruptcy filings, based on my personal experience. So I would say, right now, as I think we kind of recapped, a lot of these corporations are filing, we would say Chapter 11s, but you are experiencing, the clients. Let me just break this scenario down. I have clients that come to me and they may have, they're considering whether they should file personal versus business, right? So a lot of factors come into play. Did I serve as a personal guarantor on some of these business loans? Is my business still in existence? Do I want to continue operating the business? And a lot of that kind of determines, hey, do I want to just do a business bankruptcy filing versus a personal? So those are some factors we consider. But as overall, I think the business bankruptcy filings, of course, is a little bit more, you're able to gauge it a little bit more. So I think that there is a bit of an increase right now, and the numbers are preliminary versus the personal, but we do expect a surge in the personal as well.
Okay, so you're saying that you think there's a bigger increase in the business versus the personal. Is that what you said?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes. What'd you say?
Based on the preliminary numbers right now, I do.
Okay.
Based
Yeah.
on my experience now, yes.
Yeah. Well, that makes sense to me because I remember when we were doing the interview in December, I think it was as of October, the numbers were like 30% increase for the business. And I think it was only like 12 or 13% for personal. So, almost double for the business and the personal. And I think this year too, I've been hearing that a lot of the commercial loans are being due or they have to refi. And if they can't refi, then that would be another reason. So that also goes into why they're probably also, added another factor into why there may be a much more increase too for that too. So, and that's why I think, was it last year, we were expecting to see more commercial opportunities available too, because you think about it, COVID made it so people would need to work from home a lot more. And so if we
Correct.
can't work from home, do I really want to go back into the office if I don't have to? I have all these systems in place that make it easier and more productive at home. The business can save money and reduce the commercial space they have. So there's a fact of needing and also desire too to play all that. But anyway, for the next question, for both personal and business bankruptcy filings, what's the average percentage in cases that get denied?
Oh, that's a really good question. I haven't really actually even thought about that one, right? I do know this, and I'll tell you this: in personal bankruptcy filings, a lot of times they can get denied based on fraud. Sometimes the entire debt there could be an issue as to whether we're going to revoke the entire bankruptcy, meaning all your creditors. And then there's times when you can have a creditor object and say, hey, I want, because of X, Y, and Z, we feel as though, and a lot of times it can be fraud related, right? We feel as though this debt should not be included in this bankruptcy, and you still have to pay this particular debt. So those are some of the issues. I think we kind of talked a lot about the last time about the issues with PPP loans that we were experiencing in the bankruptcy court, and just not a lot of debtors not listing them, and basically not listing that they actually operated the business. Of course, with PPP loans, you had to actually have a business, and omitting this impertinent information information on your bankruptcy petitions became an issue. Right now, I think that slowed down a little bit, and I think more people are listing it because, of course, your bankruptcy can be denied. We also discussed too, though, if there's an issue and this does come up, there's an option. Let's say if you're in a Chapter 7, they were doing some agreements where maybe you can qualify for a Chapter 13, but fraud-based misrepresentation, those are some of the reasons why your bankruptcy can get denied, just to name a few.
Okay. No, that definitely makes sense. So for business and personal, for the cases that do get denied, I mean, obviously besides the fraud scenarios versus, I'm doing the best I can, but I'm still denied because they still think that I should pay off this debt. And I don't, and as you say, I mean, for the most part, this is like their last resort is file bankruptcy. In your experience, like what do clients end up doing to help resolve their debt issues, if that's the case?
I will say this, as someone who's been practicing over 10 years, a lot of times you assess the case first, right? So I'm not going to file a case if I know for a fact that there's going to be some issues going on with it. So you try to iron out and make sure that you don't, the last thing you want to do is put a client in a position where their bankruptcy gets denied or they don't receive their discharge. So those are like preliminary matters that you sit down, and each client is different, and you discuss, you go over issues, and your client, like I said, these savvy clients will let you know, hey, this is what's going on, so they'll bring it to your attention, and sometimes you'll stumble across it yourself, and it's all about preparation and due diligence. And I think that comes into play when it comes to making sure your client's case does not get denied. Preliminary things. Now, that's not to say that while you're in a case, sometimes things pop up and you're like, oh my God, this is, why didn't you tell me about this? Or, or maybe this is something that the client felt that, was no big deal to let you know. They just didn't know. But this all part of your due diligence. And that's why it's important to come up with a strategy while you're going through your bankruptcy with your client. And when these issues do come up, it's very, very, very important to let your client know what your options are, what their options are, because the last thing you want to do is not get the client ultimately what they hired you to do, which is, relieve their debt. So that's pretty much how it normally goes, though.
Okay.
And I hope I answered that question to the best of your ability, because I want to make sure that clients know that once you sit down with an attorney, these are issues that, you want to address with them. What are the probabilities of this being a successful bankruptcy? And you can't guarantee 100% that this is it's going to slide through, because things do arise, but you do want to iron out the issues so that this can be a successful bankruptcy.
No, I mean, that's what you'd want a great attorney to do at the end of the day is if it's not going to work, just don't even and bother wasting your time and money. And obviously there's going to be people who aren't going to tell you for sure, like what ended up happening after the fact, because you've already let them go, but you gave them what you thought was the best advice at the time. So yeah, no, that's fine. And so also, do a lot of clients reach out to file for bankruptcy realistically too late? Would you say it's ever like never too late, or like this is like, okay, you should have done this a month ago, can't do anything?
I would say it's never too late for the most part, right? Like I said, I like to customize my service to each and every client, and every client has a story. And you want to make sure that you're getting out that message and getting their story through, with ultimately trying to, get an okay from the bankruptcy court so that they can be relieved of this debt. So I don't think it's never too late. I think it's just, like I said, a way of strategizing and figuring out, hey, maybe you don't qualify for a 7, right? For whatever reason. Maybe you're making too much money within the last 6 months. So maybe another option for you might be a Chapter 13. So it's kind of like basically trying to get them their relief and figure out what avenue or what road you want to take to get there. So I don't think it's never too late. I think strategically, let's say they're making too much money, it might be a situation where they may want to come back and revisit this at a later date. That's an option as well. So I don't ever think it's too late. In a nutshell. So
no, that's good to know, because I would assume that a lot of people wait to the last minute for something like this. Just as people a lot of times wait for the last minute for things they don't really want to do, right?
I all kind of, are guilty of that. But I will say this. I think that if you have someone who ultimately wants a bankruptcy, and let's say the time, sometimes it's a timing thing, right? So instead of filing a bankruptcy and having issues and having problems, you may want to iron out some problems before you file a bankruptcy. That may take time. I think that bankruptcy and time goes hand in hand because time has a way of, rectifying situations. So that's why I say it's never too late.
Okay. No, that's definitely good to know. Because then people know that they can still reach out even after the
Correct.
fact when they think it's too late. So are you expecting the continued rise in filings? You know, whether it's, obviously not necessarily now, but maybe in a month or so, if it continues to rise, personal and business. Do you expect this to impact the economy and the real estate market significantly later this year? Are you thinking more like next year? What are your thoughts on all that?
My thoughts are the next couple months, roughly around June, July. But those are my thoughts. Um, just because I think, even I think we kind of discussed this, even with the real estate market and how everything is intertwined. I think it still takes time for everything to kind of funnel out for you to actually see the impact of it. It doesn't happen per se in real time. Sometimes it happens, it trickles, it has a trickle down effect. So I'm definitely expecting an increase in business as well as personal filings this year. It's just a matter of timing, as stated before.
Yeah, no, yeah, for me, it's a matter of time. Is it this year? Is it next year? Is it not? I think I've said this before, since I've been a realtor in 2016. We always felt we were at the top of the real estate market, and it's always been a sales market since I've been selling real estate. And that's been, 7, 8 years now. So you never know, right? And everyone has their expert opinion. People want to look positive. Some people focus on negative. It can go either which way. For me, it's more about, what are the facts? What are we seeing? How can I prepare for a solution? If I can create a solution after that, it's just me doing all the effort I can do to make sure everything goes well. But yeah, one thing I forgot to mention with the whole commercial thing too is, factoring in the fact that, with AI, there's a lot of things that are in place where, okay, do I want to spend money on an employee? Do I want to spend money on something that's going to cost a lot less and get the job done? That's very dependable, and I don't have to deal with, emotional things and all the other stuff that I would deal with a person. For example, we can do instead of hiring a photographer to do virtual staging, which costs about $30 a photo, sometimes 40 or 50, depending on who does it, we can get 6 photos that are AI generated in 10 seconds for about $18. And so
Okay.
that's very significant cost savings, time efficiency, because the photographer is going to take a day or two to get it back to you. And so when you think about it, I always said, like, during COVID, when things were shut down, it was kind of set up people to not want to work, right? And then
Right.
you had to go back to work, or you were working. Were you working from home? Oh, now I have to go back in that office. Not going to drive that way. I didn't really want to do that before. I thought about it. Man, we'll get another job. And then on the company side of things, right? Okay, reducing expenses, or we didn't do as well in 2023 because 2023 ended up being a rough year for a lot of people. Well, we no longer have the job opportunity for you. If we do have a job opportunity, it's probably not enough that's going to pay you what you want. So I just thought, yeah, I mean, I definitely agree that there's a possibility for sure that June, July could be the time, right? Right now, people may get a tax refund, and now they have some money there. They get their benefits or bonuses, whatever the case may be. But yeah, I think it's a matter of time. Uh, could be this year, could be next year.
And
Um,
to piggyback a little bit what you're saying, as far as the different factors, I mean, we're talking about inflation right now. The cost of food when we walk in the store is so much higher than it was years ago.
uh-oh, I think we just lost her. I'm gonna wait a second, see if she comes back on. I'm gonna wait a few minutes, see if she comes back on. If not, then we'll have to end here. But that was pretty much the last question that I had for her. So I really hope that this information was helpful. To recap and summarize, right now we're not seeing a more significant increase, than we did around last year, around December, October, I guess when we had the latest numbers. But because it's still the first quarter, there's still a possibility that we will see a surge further down the line this year, and then the impact. But it's not to say that the real estate market is going to change significantly this year, or even if this is going to have some increase right away, because the reality is that we're still in a seller's market. And the reason that we are is because there are still more people that want to buy a home than people that want to sell their home. And so because of that, no matter what the interest rate is going to be or what's going on in the economy, until we have more people that have their home on the market, then we do have buyers looking to buy, it's going to be a seller's market. I do think there's going to be more inventory on the market this year, but it's a matter of the ratios are going to change. Is there going to be more inventory than we have buyers at the end of the day? I don't think I'm going to get her back on. If she does before I end, then great. If not, then I think we pretty much summed everything up. So if you have any questions, definitely leave a comment below. You can probably message me. I can get that question over to her. She'll see this on this Facebook Live as well to respond to your message as well. And I hope everyone has, oh, here she is.
I'm back. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. You came at the right time. I was just getting ready to sign off. Okay, so what were you saying? You cut off when you said inflation.
Correct. So what I was basically saying in a nutshell, can you hear me good?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. All right. So with all these factors going on, we have inflation, right? We have the job market, we have the real estate market. All these things intertwine and have an effect on bankruptcy and vice versa. So these are interesting factors because we're in an interesting time, right? So inflation is up. We know the job market is down. We know the minimum wage is not up, right? So you have these big gaps in money flows, right? And a lot of times back in the day or years ago, people used to have savings. Sometimes now with COVID, their savings are pretty much depleted. So you have all these factors coming into play. So we're interested, like I said, we said before, we're interested to see how this is going to affect the market. We're going to continue to research and investigate this topic and come back to it, you know, to find out exactly what are making these moving parts work together. How is bankruptcy affecting the real estate market? How is the real estate market affecting bankruptcies? How is it affecting the job market? How is this affecting inflation? What does inflation have to do? How does this factor into play?
Yeah.
It's all intertwined, and we're going to continue to investigate.
Yeah, and when you were gone, I was just saying that, you know, I could definitely see what the summertime being the time when everything happens, but I also was indicating that the reality is, you know, we're still in the seller's market. If our home is updated, ideal location, priced well, you're going to see a bidding war. You know, maybe not as aggressive as it was in 2021, where you have long lines outside the door for every house, but a significant amount of offers will most likely come through on that house versus a home that's outdated, needs a lot of work. It may sit for a while, versus instead of in 2021, almost every house you're expecting bidding war on. So it's calmed down, right? But you know, home values are still increasing because the reality is, no matter what the interest rate is, no matter what's going on in the economy, if we don't have more homes for sale than we do have buyers looking to buy a home, we're going to be in a seller's market. And based on what you were talking about in December, to answer that, seller's market meaning how it impacts you having equity in homes. Well, if somebody has a mortgage of $100,000 and their home value has increased to $200,000, they got $100,000 worth of equity. So for you and your clients that, you know, may decide to sell, you want it to be where it's a buyer's market for the most part. If it's a buyer's market, you know that they're going to have a lot of times not equity, or, as they say, underwater, you owe more than what it's worth situations.
Correct.
And we're just not really there yet. Now, there's going to be some locations, some subdivisions, right, that are going to have that situation. But overall, you're going to see equity for the most part until the market shifts. And I do think there's going to be more homes for sale this year for a lot of the factors that we discussed. But the question is it going to be enough homes to where we have fewer buyers? Because if we don't, still going to see the seller's market.
Makes a lot of sense, and it goes together, as stated before. Makes a lot of sense.
Okay. Well, is there anything else that you wanted to add about this discussion before we finish?
No, do we have any questions?
Oh yeah, let me check on that.
No.
I meant to say, I forgot to say, if anybody had questions, to leave a comment below. Looks like we don't have, oh wait, there's a comment. Oh, someone just said hello. So I did mention when you were gone that if anybody did have questions, they can leave a comment below. I think I'm going to tag you in the live later on, so you'll see the comments come through as well, and you can respond.
Okay.
And then also, if you want to share how people can reach you again, if they have questions later on.
If you have any questions, you can reach me through 1-3-500-5098, and I'm here to please and serve.
Okay, well, thank you so much for your time. This is another good discussion, even though we had some minor technical issues, but we have made it through. And I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.
You too. Thank you so much. Have a great day, and thanks for having me here.
Oh, you're welcome. All right. Bye, everyone. If you've enjoyed watching this video and would love to stay up to date when I have more content like this or something similar that you may be interested in, please like and subscribe to this channel and click the bell so you get notifications. And I hope you have a great day.